Action. Hello, my name is Shane, aka Hälts. I'm a human and artist currently living in the East Kootenay of British Columbia, Canada. This is my home, this beautiful place. I was recently asked to create a mural for like a 100-year-old building in a small settlement of Wilmer, BC. Naturally, I said yes. And so throughout the process, I did a bunch of time lapse and behind the scenes and made this video just to share with you a little bit of the insights of my mural making process. Let's do it. I started making murals back in 2008, 2009. In 2010, I was super fortunate to be hired onto a team of artists, and we were going to produce a mural for Cirque du Soleil. Before I got to the site, I asked the boss how big this mural was, and he said, it's not too bad. Get there, it's like a 7-story wall, and my jaw just basically dropped to the ground. That was my introduction to mural making. They taught me everything I needed to know from start to finish. Since then, I've been just on this kind of crazy trip of mural making. I've traveled both in Canada and abroad to create murals for different communities. This is southern Mexico. We happened to go to a pretty remote surf spot, and I just happened to have a little bit of paint with me. And the owner asked, of course, if I would paint a little wave on this little hacienda. I said yes. He ended up feeding us the best ceviche I've ever eaten in my life, and just made some lifelong friendships. It's just been a really enriching experience. Since then, I've gone on to paint all types of projects, from ice cream trucks to school buses, community murals, commercial murals, and almost everything in between. There's this energy that carries through one project to another. When my friends asked me to create a mural for Wilmer, BC, I was stoked. It's got a lot of history. I think it was established in like 1886. They had recently purchased an old building that used to be a general store with the dream of turning it into the Wilmer Mercantile. And they wanted to have a mural on the side of the building just to give it a little bit of life. They're going to open it up for December 24th. And so here you see my friend measuring the wall. I had a chance to go inside, spend some time, get the feel and vibe of the place. This really gives it the energy and the spark, and so I can create artwork that is going to be fitting. In this case, I was thinking, kind of traditional classic, but give it a little bit of a modern feel as well. So bridging the gap. We decided to go with 3 sheets of plywood, so it's gonna be a total area about 100 square feet. This is a mid-range mural. It's going to be seen from both close up and far away, so it needed to be somewhat sharp up close and also look beautiful from far away. My friend also offered this awesome space to work in, which I was very happy about, being able to work inside and be able to control kind of some of the elements, temperature. There was no wind. I just had to run a little heat dish once in a while just to keep the temperature 10 degrees and above, because working with paint below that makes it very hard to work with. So you'll see here some of the early sketches I worked on after some conversations with the client, just kind of getting the creative juices flowing. In this case, we did It usually is the first one. So then I like to start just kind of brainstorming, going through some digital images of Santa. I used a little bit of AI prompting, every artist's nemesis. This stage is probably the most fun of the whole project, just kind of splicing together this Santa Claus, Kris Kringle character and thinking about the background and what mountain I'm going to put in there. Probably Mount Nelson because it's kind of the geographical indicator of this area. Just doing a digital collage techniques to build up Santa, taking away, adding, subtracting, putting a hand in a different pose, adding highlights, taking away, changing the color of the eyes. This is all part of this fun, exciting stage where I'm just going to try to nail an artwork that is solid, and then that's going to become the roadmap that I follow for the rest of the painting journey ahead. Once I got the artwork to a place that I had a solid artwork to work off of, I can determine from the artwork the colors I'm going to require, the volume and area that's going to be needed to cover the mural. So I can also go through my kit and see what colors I have. And then when I go to the store to buy paint, I'm not going to buy a bunch of extra paint I don't need. And sometimes I tend to buy like colors like pure white that I can then use golden fluid acrylics to tint those colors. And this is just like a cost-saving measure, easy on the budget, and it's just something I like to do. So this is the Zinsser primer stage. I'm just adding a couple layers to all sides of each panel, plus the edges, just to give it a good seal. It's going to be outside, and it's going to act as the foundation for the mural. Foundation. Sometimes you can tint the primer as well, depending on what you're doing. That's something I could have done. I just chose to keep it white because I was going to do some projecting, and that way it would stay nice and simple, and I could easily see what I was drawing. So really, this Santa mural is a culmination of years of making murals and trying different paints, different techniques. Currently, there's a lot of artists using the doodle grid. In this case, I decided just to use projection. The artwork's ready to go, so I'm just going to finish priming these panels, get them done, and let them cure overnight. I'm also going to go pick up some exterior house paints that I will use for the majority of the mural, and just have a look at my paint inventory, like my acrylic fluid medium and my spray paints as well. And then come in the following day, boom, do the projection, draw the outlines of the central Santa figure, and now I'm just going to refine some of the lines once the projection part's done. Now it's time to work on the underpainting, and here I'm just going to use a brush and roller with some of my exterior house paints, and I'm really just kind of getting that face filled in, some of the details, shadows, highlights, some of the redness in the cheeks, his lips, his eyes, his eyebrows, some of the folds in his face, just quickly hashing those in. It's an underpainting, and I will build these layers up as the process continues. And the other thing is my painter brain's kicked in, so I'm using a lot of my life experience of painting portraits at this point. However, the lighting, I was still thinking about that, and then I saw Nicolas Cage in The Lord of War, and he had this scene where he's lit with the orange teal lighting. And that's really where that idea came from. So here we go with the teal on the left-hand side. And I'm mainly using golden fluid acrylics for that part, as I will for the orange side. There's always a little element of experimentation going on in my process, even to this day. And that just makes it fun and exciting. I just continue here, painting in some of the details, the folds, some of the lines, shadows, building up the layers, and it's really looking good at this point. I'm pretty stoked. So I used 5 colors: white, butterball, which is kind of a yellow. You can see that in the moon here. I had a kind of a black, dark blue, and a red. So between those colors, I was able to do a lot of mixing of colors, which I did. For the face area, for instance, I did use quite a bit of tinting. That's the beauty of golden fluids. It's really pigment rich. So when I add it to any of the exterior house paints, it didn't take much for it to change the hue a little bit. So with the face, I used a lot of the butterball, and even with the hair, I used a lot of the pure white, and then I would just tint it with the golden, and it just extended the life of those paints, a little bit more efficient use of them. I didn't have to go buy new paints, and therefore it's a little easier on the budget that way. So at this point, yeah, I just keep working in the teal, got the orange going on the right hand side, and working in some of the gray value to the beard and to the glove. I tended to go with the brush quite a bit, which is a very traditional technique. However, I did use some spray paint as well to kind of soften his face. Spray paint works very well for portraits, especially large scale portraits. It gives it that photographic feel. This was my painting bay where I would, mix all the colors. There's my spray paint, ventilator. I didn't want to use a lot of spray paint because I was working inside this space that didn't have great ventilation. So I really didn't want to be like surrounded by paint fumes all day long. And the traditional way of using a brush can be just as fast as long as you kind of have some experience with it. And it's whatever you're comfortable with. So I wanted to use kind of a combination of these techniques. I like to use airbrush as well, but I didn't want to do a bunch of cleaning while I was working. So, spray paints kind of skips that. It's a little bit more efficient. And because I wasn't going to use much, it just was the right thing to do. I had a few extra colors, picked up a couple of colors for this specific job. And yeah, the rest was just every day going in there. I had about 12 days to work on it. I gave myself really 2 weeks because we wanted to be done before the holiday season. So my goal was to get it done by around the 22nd. And so I was just going in every day, hustling anywhere from 6 to 10 to 12 hours. One day it was a good 12 hours. So for the headdress, I've been taking a watercolor approach using golden fluid medium with some airbrush medium, and just doing like a wash where there's any leaves and stuff like that, getting it nice and filled in. Going into the beard, using some darker values just to give it a little bit more depth, start to make that look good. And also just under Santa's hat, just giving that a very subtle shadow. It's all really, super subtle at this point, but gives it that nice depth. And then going into the headdress, adding in color and elements to that. Start thinking about the background, and not expend energy in areas where I didn't want to, because I knew from experience that I have so much energy that I can use per day, especially when I'm painting. So that way, if I push it too hard and I get tired, you start to make mistakes. So this was the Mount Nelson peak going in the background. Started to work in the Santa as well. You'll see getting the outline done there and then filling it in. The sky, that's the first coat of color. Putting in the reindeer, wanted there to be about 8 reindeer, so ended up just the little hoof there on the right side of Santa's hat. You can see it's we had a good laugh about that, and hustling to get everything kind of filled in to a point where I'm like, okay, I feel good about this. It's all coming together. I had to make some changes. So I did have to make a few adjustments to the background layers. The Santa Claus and the reindeer, I did flip on the horizontal axis just to kind of give the composition a little bit better balance. And again, this kind of shows the importance of the artwork and really nailing it from the beginning. It does save you a few headaches, and in the long run, it does really pay in dividends. So at this point, everything's nice and filled in. I've been working on the wreath, working on the details. Sometimes what happens is the artwork that I'm working off of is quite small, and once the image has been scaled up to the mural, I start to see where there's areas I'd like to add a little bit more detail. While in some areas I wanted to keep relatively simple, like the Santa and the reindeer in the background, I just used the same color as the sky. I just made them a little bit lighter value, and then used a stroke around them using the same color as the moon, just so they'd stick out a little bit better. Basically backlit, taking something complex and simplifying it. At this point, I'm taking some steps back. It's pretty nice and filled in. I just want to see what exactly I need to do to get it to that point where I'll be happy with. So taking this extra time just to add in those details and make it look great was a good decision. Great idea is to just go out into the woods and go for a walk, spend some time in the forest around the trees. I have so much going on in my head when I'm working on these murals that it's just really important to take the time to step into the nature which I live in the East Kootenay here of BC, Canada. Very lucky. At this point, I'm pretty stoked on the orange teal and keeping the eyes true to the artwork, with the one eye being orange and one being teal. Although the one eye, I still knew I had some work to make it a little bit more orangey. It was looking a little too much brown at this point. So that's the thing. I use a lot of layering, so it does take time for it to get to that final color sometimes. And then I'm just working in some of the fine details in the background Santa silhouette, kind of tightening it up a little bit. And yeah, just super stoked on the eyes though. I was just like, okay, in the original artwork, the clients were pretty happy when they saw that. So it's just, when you get it actually to scale and then seeing it come to life and it's like it works, it's just a good feeling. And I think it gives it that nice uniqueness that I was looking for. That's style, I guess you could say. And something I've done in my work often is to kind of change certain things so that it's a little, on the fringe of things. Even with Santa Claus, which is a very standardized image, it was like, how can I have fun with his image? I made a little time machine there, as you see, jumped into the summertime because winter, not my favorite season. However, there it is, winter. There's no escaping it here in Canada. So anyway, back into the studio, just going and working on various details, eyebrows, mustache, beard, hand, getting everything to a point where it's really starting to come together. Probably, and perhaps this is the hardest part of anything, any painting, is finishing the painting and where to take it to. But because I had the deadline, I knew I had to get this thing done. So I just wanted to get it to a point where I was happy with it, and then I could add extra details that I saw fit, talk to the client a little bit. They gave me some input. So on the Santa, I added a little bit of red and color to the Santa, to the reindeer, even to the sled. Just gave it a little bit more pop, but didn't want to make it too poppy because I wanted Santa to be the middle portrait of Santa to be the focal point, and then basically the background would be the background. So the reindeer was kind of from a highway sign I saw, when people stick that red dot on the deer. So not really a reindeer, but I just thought that was kind of funny. Here we go, a little slow pull out. And there's a lot of things in the Santa that you probably can't see in this image that you'll be able to see when you see it real life. Like in the pom-pom, I put like a big happy face. I put some horses, kind of cave horses, because I'm super into the art before it was art, going back 30, 40, 60,000 years ago. Interesting fact, actually, they just discovered that perhaps Neanderthals were the first mark makers. So that's kind of interesting. The best part is always signing it. In this case, it took me a minute to kind of wrap my head around how am I going to sign this. So I still continued to make some marks as I took some step back every once in a while, have a look, and then make some marks, go have a coffee, take a break, come back, see something. Finishing touches, you can say. And this is the hardest part because I was really tired at this point. My arms were getting quite sore from using all the brush work. That's, one thing. I probably have Popeye muscles now in my forearms I didn't have before, or, they had shrunk and then they've come back, especially using the brush. It's definitely a little bit more work. Sometimes you just have to trust yourself. I've been working on quite a few projects lately with a lot of spray paint, and getting a little bit frustrated with that. So it was just nice to switch it up and combine those, and it worked out great. I mean, super happy with how everything came together. And you can see here just little marks, little highlights here and there, filling things in just enough so that you're at a certain distance. When you step back, it's like, boom, there it is. Boom, there it is. Boom, there it is. So the next step here was to sign it. And so I used Hälts just on the right-hand side, a little cube style. And then on the left, I did hältsart.com using some new stencils I made and some old ones as well. So that it fit nicely into the artwork. It was legible. Sometimes my stuff can be a little cryptic, so it was nice to make it somewhat legible for people. And yeah. Just at this point, I'm so happy with how Santa's looking. My friends have seen it towards the end, and they were pretty stoked about it as well. Even after signing it, I did make a couple more marks. That's just me and how I work. I like to go that little extra distance. And you know, murals are great. Every project shows me something different, something new. I did try a bunch of new things on this project, including AI, which I'm sure some people are going to shake their heads at. I don't really care. It was just fun to mix all those things together. And in the end, it comes out as a painting, and it definitely far exceeded anything I could have dreamed of. And my mom came to say hi.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. That's quite the painting thing. It's great.
This was super cool. My mom came in for a visit, gave me some good feedback, got to share the work with her before it was going to get put up on the wall. I think one thing I've learned from working on paintings is it's always a good idea to take a little break and look far away, especially when you're really looking at something super close up. It's just really good for the eyes, gives them a little bit of a rest, and yeah, it's just going to prolong the life of your eyeballs, trust me. The life of your eyeballs, trust me. The life of your eyeballs, trust me. Here we are coming up to the space. There's my friend. We're going to get the mural loaded up into his truck. Bit of a wet day, so we wanted to just put the panels on there individually, put a Fernie pad in between them because you really want to protect the artwork. That's super important. You work on it this hard, you want to take care of it. I wasn't able to do a clear coat because it takes about a month for this to actually cure, especially the exterior house paint. So we just decided to go ahead and put it up anyway. It's going to be up for about a month and a half. And then after that, I can do a proper coat on it for next year. And here we are on our way to Wilmer. And it was kind of a foggy day, in and out of the fog. Then we're going to drive back into the cloud here. And coming down here, take a right to Panorama. But instead of Panorama, boom, we're going to go to Wilmer. And coming up here on the right-hand side, there's the old general store. Got the candy cane on the front. And there's the wall with the ladder, magically already there. So what we're going to do here is use a cleat system, and you need like a 2x4 or a 4x6, and you have two of them, and just make an angle cut on the top so that they kind of click into place. You stick the one long one onto the building, put some screws in, and then we took each panel and we put a cleat on the back of each one, and then we can just hang those up on the one on the wall. They click into place, add a few more screws to make it nice and snug. Takes a little bit of elbow grease, but it really does smooth it out and gets rid of all the warpage. Here I did a little bit of a time lapse of the Santa. Super fun, always like to do that when I'm working, just to see the changes that take place throughout the process. And then I'm always making these time lapse videos of the process to share with people, mostly on social. However, I've decided to start using YouTube a little bit more so that I can put up longer format stuff like this and hopefully be able to talk about it. Yeah, I was just super happy with how everything worked out. It's always, challenging when you have a deadline to work with and you know, I got to get this done. So just being really prepared to do that is always a good idea, especially because stuff comes up. You never know what's going to come up, and you're going to have to deal with that in the moments. So being prepared at the beginning really helps get you through those things. Having great people around you. The clients here were great. This is the wall on this is Christmas Eve, and you can see the mural on the side of the wall. They had people inside this general store, which hadn't seen that many people for a while. So it was a very kind of historical, cultural moment for this place, I think. And then they do an annual fireworks display, which was just super cool. So tons of people came up. You know, some people saw the mural and they were stoked. I brought my family up, my sister, and, you know, just got to share in this moment, not be working and just hustling. We were just able to kind of take a moment to feel the joy, celebrate life, you know, and that's really what it's all about. Any mural I make, especially when they're made for a community, is just trying to put that little bright light in the community, add some color during that, you know, stark winter season. I mean, I've done murals in all sorts of places, from tropical southern Mexico, you know, all the way up to here in the frozen north of Canada. So this is a first to do a mural in December. I have done interior murals before, but this was like a super cool process. We were able to pull it off. All the things fell into place nicely. And I just want to say thank you to Adrian, Nicole, and Flora. I just want to say thank you to Adrian, Nicole, and Flora. I just want to say thank you to Adrian, Nicole. These are QR codes to my website if anyone's interested, or my social, Instagram. And also a huge thanks to my family, who are super supportive. When people encourage you and they show the love back, it really does make a difference, especially when you're working your butt off to make something awesome. You want to put good energy into that, and that's something that I definitely strive for. So this is Hälts. That's pretty much all I have to say about this particular story, the Santa Mural. Just want to say thank you again for watching, and hopefully you have gotten some great things from this. I hope to do more of this in the future. If you're interested, you can follow, subscribe, or like, leave a comment, and mahalo and aloha. Hälts signing off.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.